Good early morning, everyone. Welcome. My name's Maria, and you're joining me on a very early morning, Monday morning, for a knitting and everything fiber related podcast. We'll talk about some finished objects and some whips, as well as some a knit along, well, two knit alongs that are going on, and some natural dyeing, and a bit about a festival I'll be going to, and an acquisition. That's what we're going to cover today. It is super early in the morning. Oh, I'm not going to be putting anything in the bottom today. I won't be having a lot of editing time, so anything I mention is going to be in the show notes at ninjachickens.com. This is the Ninja Chickens podcast, and you can find me on Instagram as ninja.chickens and Ravelry as Ninja Chickens, as well as in the Ninja Chickens channel. So like I said, it's super early in the morning. It is 6:20, but it feels kind of like 5:20 because we turned our clocks forward yesterday. But I woke up, I couldn't sleep. I'm super excited. So I thought I'd get up and podcast. My plan was to podcast for you this afternoon and edit it and have it ready to go this evening. But it looks like I'm going to be leaving for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival one day early. I was supposed to leave tomorrow midday, and there's a big storm coming into Boston, a snowstorm, and it's very likely that my plane flying into Boston would not leave. The airline had already sent me a notice, a travel alert, and that I should change my flight. But international flights rarely get canceled unless it's severe weather, because there's so many people. It's such a big plane, they usually just push through the weather. So the likelihood is that my international flight leaving from Boston, even though there was snow, would still leave and I wouldn't be able to get there. So the travel agent booked me a day early so I could get in there before the flight, before the snow. So I'm hoping that me being there won't get me stranded in Boston. But I should be flying out tomorrow, and Mars, Hey Brownberry, who I'm traveling with, is also flying in early. In fact, she is getting ready to board her plane already this morning. So luckily we have a hotel there. I have some family there. So tomorrow we may be able to explore a little bit before we have to leave in the evening. So I'm super excited. I'm going early, and I'm trying to get this in so you guys can see a few things that I've been up to, and I can chat with you before I leave, because it'll be 2 more weeks before I can podcast. So good morning. I hope you're enjoying this with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and some knitting by your side. Let's get into it. I have 3 finished objects, some that you have seen and some that you have not. The first thing is one that you have seen some of, and it is my Moonlight Traveler mitts. Now you can't get the color as well, or this early in the morning, as you would in the daylight, but let me see if I can show you. This is a 2-color pattern, but I made it 4-color because I had 4 colors I wanted to use, and then ended up duplicate stitching over the moth so you could see the wings a little more pronounced, and I could make it into a Luna moth. So actually there are 7 colors in here because I added 3 different colors for the wings. I really love these mittens, and I can't wait to wear them. I haven't worn them yet, but I'm bringing them with me to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival because I made them with blacker yarn. Well, one, because the woman, Nina Pomeranki, who wrote the pattern, is going to be there, and I want to show them to her. And 2, because they're made out of blacker yarn, and Blacker is having their Blacker pod cow, the Blacker podcasting cow. Blacker Yarns is sponsoring the Podcasters Lounge at Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and so they're having a knit along, and the knit along ends tomorrow. So you don't really have time to join in, but those people who aren't going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival could have joined also. It's for everyone, and there's prizes and stuff at the end. So these, I can show them off to Blacker Yarn. I really enjoyed working with the yarn. I'm going to talk about this yarn a little bit more when I talk about the next finished object. because I used some of this yarn in the next finished object, but it was really nice to work with. One thing that I found most enjoyable is that often when I'm working with color work with a more rustic yarn, and this is a slightly more rustic yarn, it's not like uncomfortably itchy in any way. It's soft enough and it feels great on your hands. But it's a tough yarn. It feels like it's going to last well and be strong. But when I'm doing color work or any type of stranded knitting with two colors, because I hold it in my left hand and I'm switching back and forth, often the two yarns that are coming from my hand will get caught up on each other because of the scales and the fibers that are sticking out. And it's a pain because I have to keep dropping the yarn, separating the two, and wrapping my fingers back up. These didn't do that. I mean, of course, they would twist every so often because of the way I was knitting or catching my stitches, but they didn't catch on each other, which was really nice. So I enjoyed working with them. Yeah, so this is the Moonlight Traveler Mittens by Nina Pomeranke in Blacker yarn, and I'll have all the information in the show notes as well as on my Ravelry page. My next finished object comes with more Blacker yarn. I told you last time that I had been given two of Blacker Yarn's brand new Jacob yarn. They came out just a couple of days ago. This is a breed-specific yarn made of just Jacob fleece. So last time I showed you some pictures of Jacob. They're kind of like Dalmatians. They're mostly white with black or brown spots. They're an ancient breed going back, I think, gosh, 400 years. I believe they're mentioned in the Bible. 4,000 years, and I believe they're mentioned in the Bible. I'm pretty sure there is a tomb, an Egyptian tomb that has pictures of what looks like Jacob with their long horns. They can have up to 6 horns. And there's lots of information that Blacker puts out with their breed-specific yarns. So when you order their yarns, you get a lot of information on the inside of the ball band. So this is the ball band, and then on the inside it has all these details about the specific breed, which is really cool. Oops. It's time to get up. So these skeins weighed 30 grams each, so it wasn't a huge amount to work with. So I wanted to do something that would show them off and really see how they work. I had seen some other podcasters doing swatches or a small single pattern with one color. So I thought it would be nice to see how they worked in color work and steeking. Because why not? I know that these generally wouldn't be two colors that you would put together as color work. Let's see. There we go. This is the... Oh, let me see, I have it written down. This is clay and this is granite. So this is how close they are on the color card. Here's clay, here's granite. A marled yarn generally isn't something that you'd want to use for color work unless the colors in that marl are completely separate from your other contrasting color. This is not, so I knew it wasn't going to be an extreme contrast, but I still thought they'd work out okay. Generally, sorry, those lights are really bright, but we have no other light right now. Generally, I'd choose two colors that had more contrast. But I decided to work these up in color work, and I wanted a simple pattern, and I didn't feel like looking for one, and I really just wanted to get casted on. So I was trying to figure out what I should knit. And I looked over and saw Isabella sitting by the fire, which is right behind me, you know, snuggled up as close as she could to the fire, almost touching the stove. And I thought, I should knit her a cape. Right? Why? I don't know. But I decided to knit Isabella a cape and thought that it would be nice to actually use some of their classic yarn also as a main color. Let's see. There we go. So I had a lot of the Blacker Classic from working the mittens, and I decided to use some of the same mitten color as the main color. The differences in these two yarns are, they are both the same weight, the same recommended needle size, the same amount in, so like 190 yards in 50 grams. They're very similar, but this is woolen spun and this is worsted spun. Woolen spun yarns, many of you probably know, are spun with all the fibers going all over the place. They've not been combed or straightened to go in the same direction, so they kind of make a fluffy cloud when they get spun. They capture more air. They tend to be warmer yarns because of that insulating air. And they also tend to be lighter and fluffier. So when you're knitting with them, they fill in the space, if that makes sense. So they make great colorwork yarns because they almost make a solid palette of colorwork design, if that makes sense, because they fill in the space in between. Worsted spun yarns have all of their fibers combed and going in the same direction. So when they're spun up, the air is kind of pressed out. They tend to be sturdier yarns and tougher yarns, especially if they have a long staple length, because then you're almost getting like, they don't feel like a rope, but a rope type yarn, as opposed to something fluffy and airy. You have all this straightness wound up together. So they're great yarns for things that you want that are super sturdy. They still look great for color work, but they're not going to fluff up and fill in the spaces as much. One thing that I really enjoyed about the Jacob yarn, though, is that, so Jacob is usually thought of as a very rustic yarn, a sturdy yarn. It can be itchy. This really isn't. In fact, when I rub my fingers over the project, which I'll show you in just a second, it's soft. It almost, like, between the two of them, this feels softer. And when you look at it in the project, you can see that it has more of a halo. So some of the yarn that they used must have had a slightly shorter staple or a thinner diameter, because it really leaves a softness and a little bit of a fuzz to your project. So it ended up filling in the spaces and the color work nicely. So let me show you. Isabella's coming in for her debut. Perfect timing, sweet stuff. Come here. She's not really a fan of the cape. But here it is. Ta-da! Oh, she just went, Isabella's super cape. So you can see the design that I used. I'll take it off of her so you can see a little better. Sit behind me. I knit in the round from the bottom up. So I started with a Latvian braid because, you know, I'm liking those right now. And I worked with the 4-ply classic. And then I went into the color work. And I just made up a little snowflake design with some hearts because I thought it was cute. And did that for a little bit and then went back to the classic before I did the ribbing and then started bringing it in. I decreased faster on the chest edge because of how her chest pops out. And then this is for around the neck. And then I steeped it. So she has her little cape. And it actually fits her really well. I'm very surprised that kind of doing this on the fly worked out. But if you look, you can see, let's see if I can get that to focus for you. You can see how well this yarn has fluffed up and filled in. Of course, it would have looked better with a more contrasting, darker color. But I think it still actually looks pretty cool. There we go. Oh, and when I do this, you can see that halo on it. You see that little fuzz coming off of it? See if I can put it together like this. Yeah, so this does not have much. This does, and it makes it super soft. So anyway, I really enjoyed working with it. It did not get caught in my hands as well. It knit very smoothly. So it was a nice yarn to work with. So I would recommend, if you're looking for a breed specific yarn or you want to try something different you haven't tried before, it's a really nice yarn. They have, here it is, right now, just these colors. They had separated the fleeces into the creamier and then the darker and spun them up that way to create, they spun them up to create 4 different yarns. So a basic cream and then the different levels of marling. Is that a word? Marling. And then they dyed them that way. So there's pinks, there's a tealy green, and then a blue. They have a 4-ply as well as a DK weight. The DK comes in these colors and the 4-ply is these colors. So it's starting out simple to see how people like it, and then they'll add colors to it as they see the demand. But I'm sorry, that was wrong. This is the 4-ply, this is the DK. I really liked it. I am thinking that this might be a good yarn for my shorts that I'm going to be knitting for our Knit Your Bottoms Knit Along. But we'll see. When I go over there, I may get myself a nice little quantity of it because it was really nice to work with. So there we go. Speaking of Blacker Yarn and the Podcasters Lounge, I misspoke last time when I said that the Podcasters Lounge is open from 12 to 2. Meet the Podcasters is happening from 12 to 2, where those podcasters that were invited or those that have not officially been announced by Edinburgh Yarn Festival, any podcasters or viewers can meet up at that time as a specific time when there will probably be more podcasters there. But the Podcaster Lounge is open to anyone at any time that the festival is open, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So you can go there at 9 a.m. or 10, I think it starts at 10. Anyway, you can go there outside of the 12 to 2 times and hang out, have tea, knit with your friends. It's a wide open area for things. So I will definitely be there from 12 to 2 each day. And I realized that my Kate Davies class that I thought was Friday afternoon is actually later in the afternoon, or Friday morning is actually later in the afternoon, so I won't be missing any of it. I'm so excited. I can't explain how, and I know you guys are probably sick and tired of hearing me talk about Edinburgh yet, but aside from the fact that it's a yarn festival, it's traveling to a really beautiful city. It is traveling overseas, and I love traveling, even if it's to a place where I don't speak any of the language. I like being able to figure out my way, meet the people, learn about the culture, so I'm super excited. And really the biggest thing is that I'm going to be getting to see people that I've known at this point for years and have never met in person. And it's going to be so exciting. So I will have some footage of everything there. I may put it into just a separate Edinburgh podcast so that those of you who aren't interested can skip it, but we'll see. It's going to be really cool. So I am planning on getting a few things for you guys to do with giveaways so that there's a little something I can bring back for those of you who don't have a chance to get there. I am going to be bringing, if you are going, I am bringing a few sock blanks and a few books if anyone's interested. I know that overseas shipping is pretty expensive, so I'm going to try and bring some with me. Not a lot. You can get in touch with me if you're interested. But I don't want to do any sales or anything during the Podcaster Lounge, so let's figure out something outside of that. I want the Podcaster Lounge to be about meeting and friendships and stuff, and not like trying to sell stuff. I will have some pins. I don't have them yet because they were supposed to arrive on Friday, but got caught in the last winter storm in New England. So now they're supposed to arrive today. And luckily, the UPS guy used to be a good friend of mine in high school, so I've texted him and said, please meet me somewhere before I have to go to the airport so I can get my pins. So hopefully I'll have those for you. Okay, my last finished object is a couple of, this is my pattern that I used that I made up for the cape. I don't know if I'm going to write this up as an official pattern or not. Some of it I kind of winged and changed things up as I went. But if you're interested in details, let me know, and I can send you some more information about it. So, sorry, the cats are getting antsy. I've already fed them, but they don't want to go outside because it's raining. My last finished object is my 5x5 squares for Evelyn of Thistle Hollow's Sister Survivor blanket project. If you haven't heard anything about that, I would highly recommend that you head to my show notes, and I will have the links to her videos about it. She's creating a blanket for a woman who stepped forward to talk about some abuse that she had gone through, and that led to 155 women coming forward to speak about the same thing from the same man. So, so she's creating a blanket for her, and she needs 155 5x5 little squares and fingering weight yarn. That's a lot of squares. So if any of you feel called to make something, it takes a couple hours at most. I cast it on 40 stitches in fingering weight yarn and got almost exactly 5 inches. You can block it to be a little bit more, a little bit less, and then just knit until I had 5 inches. The first square I did was this one, and I did this just knit, turned around, knit again, turned around, knit again, so it's super easy. My thought was I'd make some simple squares, a handful of them for her so she can fill them into spots where she might need a different size or a little something to balance out more elaborate squares maybe. So this was made from a sock blank that I made, so it's the eco-printed fabric. And then the second one I made is a green sparkle. Ooh. Sorry, the cat's trying to get into Leaf's room. I just don't want him to wake him up. Don't wake up yet. So this one is a green sparkle, and I've got these two so far. I'm going to be taking more fingering weight yarn to Edinburgh because they're super easy to do, and it'd be easy to cast on and whip one out while I'm talking to people or while I'm in the airport. And I hope to make maybe 4 or 5 of them to send in. But like I said, if you're interested in learning more, head to my show notes and you can find the links for the details. And that's the last work in progress. I mean, finished object. I'm having a hard time between foes and whips today. So I have one work in progress that I've been working on, and that is the Dixon skirt. This is for my Knit Your Bottoms knit along, and that is a knit along that I'm hosting. It started March 1st and goes through June 1st, and it's anything you can wear on your bottom half other than socks, and you have to use at least one full skein of yarn. So the little shorts, skirt, leggings, short, I already said shorts, something like that. I'm doing the Dixon skirt, which is a really beautiful cabled skirt pattern, and I'm using this yarn, which is a fern fiber yarn. Let's see if I can get in there and show you the details of it. It is a CVM Romeldale yarn, and I'm trying to make it focus better. My camera's not great with focusing, so I apologize. It's a CVM Romeldale that has little neps of colored silk in it, so it's really pretty. There we go. I think it's going to be gorgeous for the skirt. I cast it on. I actually cast it on with the required needle and cast it on for 34 in the hips. My hips are not 34. They're larger than that. But I was reading, a lot of people said that the ribbing up at the top that goes basically all the way through makes it more likely to fall down, and that it turns out a little bit big. So I thought, well, I'll knit small and see if I can, you know, use that to my advantage with the ribbing. I was also going to knit an extra inch at the top and then purl a row so I could fold it over and create an elastic band so that it definitely wouldn't fall off. My gauge was coming out just a little bit off, too many stitches, so it would be even a little smaller, but the fabric just didn't look pretty. It was really open. I mean, you could see through the ribbing, and I think It's supposed to be a worsted weight yarn, but I think once this is, knit, there were some areas of thick and thin. It just didn't look good, so I ripped it all out and I cast it back on with a much smaller needle, and I went up 2 sizes. And the reason why I went up 2 sizes is because they have sizes to fit hips 30, 34, 38, 42. It goes up like that every 4 inches, but every other size flares more than the size before and after it. So the size 30, 38, and 46 are more A-line, and the size 34, 42, and 50 have better flare. And that's just because of how the pattern's written. You have one less repeat in those smaller sizes. And I wanted mine to flare, so I needed to go up to the size that would give me a better flare, which means 42. And my hips are not 42. They're actually a little smaller. So my thought was, I'll knit a 42 on a much smaller needle, get a prettier looking fabric, and have a skirt that fits. So I think that's going to work for me. So here's what I've got so far. I just barely got started on it. This is the extra inch. I just did a 1x1 rib, and I will end up folding it over like this and then having the elastic band on the inside. So you won't even see that. And this is the main pattern so far. It starts with an interesting, not typical type ribbing, and I like it like this. These are 1x1, but then you get to this and it's a different, where am I going? It's a different type of ribbing. I really wanted to work on this for the last 2 weeks. I got started, I did a little bit, and then I had to stop. I like the feel of this yarn. It's squishy, it's been fun to knit, but I had so many other things that I needed to get taken care of. I put it aside. So I'm bringing this with me definitely to Edinburgh, so I can do it kind of in my downtime or when I'm at the at our flat, just to get some rows on this one. So yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. I think it's going to be a gorgeous skirt. So if you're interested in joining the Knit Your Bottoms Knit Along, there is lots of time left. Absolutely. You can, there's already one skirt project that's been turned in, got turned in yesterday. It's really beautiful. And there's lots of other people working on them, but seriously, you have so much time. It doesn't stop till June 1st. So please come out and join. It'd be a lot of fun. Let's see. Oh, and that is the Dixon skirt by Nora Gone, is what I was working on. I have also been doing some dyeing. I really have been wanting to experiment with butterfly pea flower. It is a tropical flower in the pea family. I believe it's Clatonia ternatia, something like that. I know it is butterfly pea flower, and they're little blue flowers that I've used for tea. They make a really nice tea. It's light. All of the color in these means that it's good for your circulatory system, your heart, and many other things. I just like the taste of it and the fact that it turns the water blue. Really blue. And if you add a acidic liquid like a little lemon juice, it goes pink. So it's pH sensitive. I eco-print with these, and they make a deep blue splash of color. Actually, that's what was, here it is. That's what made this blue in here. You can see it. Yeah. Those little blue splotches right there are from the butterfly pea flower. So I wanted to see if I could capture it either on yarn or on the sock blanks as a whole, the whole color on the whole thing. When I've done that before, a lot of the colors tended to wash out. So I thought I'd do some experimenting. So I made a strong batch of it. And let me get out all these different colors. And it was deep, deep, deep blue. And I put in a sock blank and I put in some yarn. When I pulled out the sock blank and just gave it a little squeeze, all the color would run out of it. It was very pale. So I thought, okay, I'm going to add a mordant. So I put in a little alum and it went pink. And it wasn't the color I was looking for, so I thought, okay, I'm going to bring the pH back up with some washing soda. And when I did that, it went green. green. So here's the yarn and the sock blank from that batch. This yarn is just some yarn that I have a lot of extra of. This is when I started Fern Fiber with my friend Nikki. We had a couple batches done that didn't turn out great, that had a lot of thick and thin. And so we kept those, and it's a super beautiful yarn, and I still use it to knit with, but I thought, well, I'll experiment with it. It doesn't actually dye up very well, I'm realizing. And some of it may be what was used when it was spun. Maybe they used a specific type of oil or something, or it may still have too much lanolin in it, but it doesn't take the color extremely well. You can see the difference in the brightness of these two. Excuse me. So, but I love this green. That is just a fabulous green. So with the alum, it stayed. Alum is a mordant, and then bringing up the pH. So I still had a lot of color left. Well, actually, no, this one was the whole project. I ended up doing these colors, and then the next day I started another batch. And I thought, this time I'm going to try and get the blues. So I have a lot of colors in here. I decided to try oak galls. Oak galls they are a mordant because they're high in tannins, which helps to capture the color so it doesn't wash out. But it doesn't have the same pH effect. So I did a strong bath of the butterfly pea flowers and added just oak galls, and I got this dark blue. It is, let's see if you can see back here. Yeah, there you go. It's a really nice dark blue. And I had oh, and here's the yarn that went with it. So look at the difference in those two. It definitely has an air of blue to it, but it's almost more gray. So those are the two yarns that I got. The green and the grayish blue. Now, there was a lot of color left in the dye bath, so I decided to just put 3 more sock blanks in there, 4 more sock blanks, and I got this. So here's the 2 colors. You can see that this one's just a little bit deeper. Yeah, there we go. More blue. So then I thought, okay, there's still a lot of color in the bath. I've mordanted it with oak galls. What if I change the pH? So I added a bunch of lemon juice. And I got this. It definitely lightened it. It didn't go as pink anymore. But let's see, this was the original first one, and this is the lighter colors. And then we've got these 3 colors of blues. And then I thought, well, let's add the alum back and see if it can go green. And I got almost a lavender. Can we see that? Let's bring it up closer. So this is the first one, and then I got that one. So I have a bunch of really beautiful blues and greens and lavenders. I really want to repeat that green. I would like a lot of that green. I'm not usually a green person, but that's just a really cool color. So my plan is to just use those to eco print on, and then you'll have that as a background color, but they're really beautiful. Oh, and this is the new sock blank yarn that I have, the eco processed non-superwash, and it dyed up beautifully. So my plan when I come back is to do some eco printing on these and some plain white ones, and hopefully have some for you soon. I still have a number of the other sock blank yarns, the superwash yarns, that I need to put up in the shop for you before these go up. But I'm hoping to have some of these sometime in April. So yeah, that was a lot of fun, experimenting with all of that and drinking blue tea at the same time. My only other thing I wanted to chat with you about is an acquisition. I got this No Serial Number magazine. This is their yarn special, and I think it was their winter 2018 edition. This is not one that I have seen mentioned around very much. I saw it a year ago in a Facebook group from a woman that I follow who's an eco-printer, and they were publishing their eco-print edition, which came out, I think it was the fall of 2016. It's not available in print anymore, but it is available online. And it's specifically a magazine for people who are interested. Oh yes, it says on here, Winter 2007, issue 11. It's a magazine for crafters who are interested in the environment. So it talks about reuse and recycling. It talks about crafting with found objects. It talks about natural dyeing, natural wools. There's all kinds of information in here, and it's packed, and the pictures are fabulous. So let's see. This one has some information on spinning, on weaving. There's some natural dyeing. There's using milk fiber. It's a really wonderful magazine, so I would highly recommend it. They didn't send me this. I, bought this myself. They didn't ask me for a review. I just think it's a really good magazine, so I've subscribed for the whole year. So I would recommend it. No serial number, and currently their yarn edition is available, and so I thought a lot of you guys would be interested in that one. And I think that's it. Oh, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm done podcasting. I'm going to bring the kids to their classes and then hopefully come back and finish all my packing and get this edited and uploaded and then be off. So I will see you guys in 2 weeks with lots of yarny stories and videos from Edinburgh. I hope you have an amazing 2 weeks, and I hope your day goes beautifully, and enjoy your knitting. Take care. Bye. If that mockingbird won't sing